iHeart, get ready. Fantasy football is here. Welcome to the Scout Fantasy Show. ScoutFantasy.com is home to the Fantasy Football World Championships and the best players in the world. Real money winners giving their secrets to help you win. Now exclusively on iHeart. This is the Scout Fantasy Show with your host, the one, the only, Dr. Roto.
Dr. Roto. Get out the insurance cards. Get out the copay. The office is open, my friends. Let's take a look at some news and notes in Major League Baseball. First of all, Michael Brantley will not be playing in some of the early games in the Cactus League. That's good news. Seriously. Do you think the Indians can afford Michael Brantley to get hurt early on in spring training? I'll tell you this. I don't even want to see Michael Brantley until like a week before the actual games start. I don't want to see him out there. I want this guy actually able to play this season. And we talked about him this morning on our show on SiriusXM Fantasy Sports Radio. This guy was a star just a couple of years ago. This guy was 2020, hitting 327. Right? Then he slowed down a little bit, but, he had a shoulder problem. But this is a guy who's going in like round 16, 17, 18 in drafts, who was like a third or fourth round pick a couple of years ago. So Michael Brantley is a guy that can win you a fantasy baseball league if you're lucky and he stays healthy. These are things that we can't really count on, but it's out there. It's possible, right? To win a fantasy baseball league, you need a little luck. The Yankees signed Chris Carter. Chris Carter hit 41 home runs last year. You take a shot on Chris Carter at the end of your draft. Greg Bird is out for the year. He does nothing. Carter's a starting first baseman all year. You get a guy with 40 home runs again. Was that planned? Of course it wasn't planned. That's how it worked out. But it worked out to your benefit. Zack Wheeler played catch the other day. Zack Wheeler looks like he's fine. You take a chance on Zack Wheeler. He comes back, he's good, and he's healthy, and he pitches well in 160 innings of good baseball. You had Zack Wheeler. You just won. There are chances that need to be taken in fantasy baseball. If you're willing to take those chances and they pay off, it might just work out. The Rays made a formal offer to Matt Wieters. I think it's a good spot. I think it's a good move for him. I don't know whether Wieters will go there because Scott Boras, as I like to say, Scott Boras, he's not going to go to Tampa for $6.2 million. He's going to want a lot of money. The problem is nobody's ready to pay him a lot of money right now. The Rays will. A, they need his bat. Secondly, they know Wilson Ramos is not there until August. So basically what they're going to do is rent Matt Wieters until the All-Star break and then move him along to some contender. If I'm Matt Wieters, I'm not against this move. I know I want to sign a long-term deal somewhere, but I think he has to prove it. I have no problem if he goes to Tampa next year or this year and hits 15 home runs by the All-Star break. Wilson Ramos comes back, and the Rays move him to, I don't know, give me a team, the Red Sox for Blake Swihart. Boom! Now Matt Wieters is catching in Boston. How much more do you like him? And then Boston signs him next year. That's a move for him. So maybe taking a few million less this year will give him a better chance to succeed in the future. Because right now, nobody's knocking on his door and saying, hey, Matt Wieters, $20 million for 2 years. Nobody's going to do that. Not for Matt Wieters, not for that skill set. So I think he can't misjudge this, and that's what he's doing right now. Okay? Matt Wieters, one of the better hitters left out there, but I think he might be, if I'm him, I want $8 million like Mike Napoli. I'm probably not going to get that. I'm going to get more than Chris Carter, but not what Mike Napoli got. I'm probably going to get $5 or $6 million. And you know what? You go to the Rays, you know the AL East pitchers, you know the parks, it's good for your offensive stats. You go to San Diego, Matt Wieters, dude, you may never hit another home run. Go to Tampa, get a few hits, play in some parks you're familiar with, go to Baltimore, jack a few out in Camden, go to Fenway and jack a few out, go to Toronto, go to Yankee Stadium, and then you make yourself a lot of money. That's a smart move. All right, today I said that we were going to preview the Cincinnati Reds. And this team is a little bit of a mess. They've got some injuries. They've got some young guys. They got some guys I don't really like. They got a lot of questions on the pitching staff. What a travesty that is. Let's start it off with Devin Mesoraco. Devin Mesoraco is one of my favorite catchers. He really was, but he hasn't been healthy since 2014. In fact, he's had 95 at-bats since 2014. If the guy gets 100 at-bats, he will supersede what he did the last 2 years. 2014, the guy hit 273 with 25 home runs and 80 RBIs. So that tells us he's a very good player when he's right. But the beginning part of this year, he's only going to play 50, 60% of the time max. So I like Mesoraco at the end of a draft, but I think he's going to be good for, batting average like 240, maybe like, 10, 12 home runs, 40 RBIs. It's not special. It's not special at all. But when we would talk special, Joey Votto is pretty special. And if you're in a non-base percentage league, he is as good as they come. He really is good. Last year, he had a 434 OBP. His batting average was 314, but it's even better because this guy, if you play in leagues with on-base percentage, which a lot of people do, Joey Votto's a star. He is. He may even be a first-round pick. Doesn't have the power and the speed of some of the other guys, but he can steal about 8 or 10 bases. He'll hit about 25 to 30 home runs. There's nothing that he doesn't do that's good. The problem is he just doesn't have a great lineup around him. Not a great lineup around him, but he's a really good player. At second base, Jose Peraza will get an opportunity to be the starting second baseman for the Cincinnati Reds. You know they traded Brandon Phillips, which we discussed a couple of days ago, and they wanted to trade Phillips badly to open a spot for Peraza. Peraza is like D. Gordon Light. He should be able to hit about 280, 290. He should be able to steal about 30, 40 bases. He should be able to hit about 3 to 5, maybe 6 home runs, get about 40 to 60 RBIs, and that's where we are. That is a good player. It is not a superstar. It is a good player. I like him, but at the same time, let's not make him out to be a fourth-round pick just because you think he's going to steal that many bases. Billy Hamilton is the base stealer. Jose Peraza is a good base stealer. I don't like Zach Cozart. I know his numbers were respectable last year, hit 252, 16 home runs, 50 RBIs. I just think that's a peak for him. I don't think it gets better. Zach Cozart's not going to wake up and go, I'm a better hitter than I was last year. He's not great. Okay? Eugenio Suarez actually had a pretty good year. Did you know that Eugenio Suarez had 21 home runs last year? Well, he did. And he had 78 runs scored and 70 RBIs. The guy had 565 at-bats. That's not a bad little player here. And he had 11 stolen bases. So people don't like Suarez, but you know what? Those numbers aren't going to kill you. Little power, little speed, some runs scored. He's 25. He's only getting better. I'm a fan. In the outfield, there's Billy Hamilton. Now, Billy Hamilton, people are talking about him stealing. If anybody could steal 80 bases, it's Billy Hamilton. But you got to get on first base first. Right? Remember Willie Mays Hayes? Hit like Mays, run like Hayes? And what did the manager say? You hit like crap. Right? Billy Hamilton, you can't steal first base. You've got to get on first base in order to steal it. Well, he's got to hit an upwards of 260 or higher. That's what he really needs to be successful. 260 or higher. Can he do it? I think it's borderline. Adam Duvall had an opportunity last year that nobody ever thought he would have had. But they put him in that lineup, 552 at-bats. He jacks out 33 homers, 133 RBIs. 33 homers, 103 RBIs, hit 241. This guy's like a modern-day Adam Dunn. But you need pop in a lineup. And I think because this team has so much speed with Hamilton and Peraza, they're willing to take a shot at Duvall. But listen, Mesoraco, 240. Peraza, decent. Suarez, 250. Cozart, 250. Hamilton, 260. Duvall, 240. There's not a lot of high average guys in this lineup. Peraza and Votto are about the two highest. That's not so great. Scott Schebler's the other outfielder there, but that guy's nothing more than like a fifth outfielder in an NL-only league. I want no part of him. Alcantara, could be Arismendi Alcantara. I think he's got a skill set. He's their backup fourth outfielder. He played for Oakland in the past. He played for the Cubs in the past. I don't hate him, but he's another guy who doesn't have a good average. He's another guy without a good batting average. So you got a lot of guys on this team without a good batting average. Luckily, their best minor leaguer arguably is Jesse Winker, who could and should hit 300 in the majors one day, and he certainly would be the guy that I'd want to put in for Schebler, right? I'd want Winker, Duvall, and Hamilton, and Winker would give them between Votto, Peraza, and Winker 3 guys who could hit over 300. I don't know if they will, but they certainly could. Okay? My favorite pitcher for the Reds is Raciel Iglesias. I love this guy. I love him. Brian Price, though, is on the cutting edge. And here's what the cutting edge is. My friend Lenny Melnick talks about an effector. A guy who can come in and pitch multiple innings and help a team out. And that's what I really think Raciel Iglesias will be best used as. I think he comes in for 2 to 3 innings. Maybe he gets a handful of saves, but I don't think he's the quote-unquote closer. I think he could get saves, and he'll be used in pressure situations. But he could come in the 7th and 8th inning. He could come in the 8th and 9th inning. He could come in the 9th inning. Depends on how they've used him. But I think we could be looking at a guy who pitches, 5 to 6 innings a week versus 3. Now, what is that good for? He could be like Dellin Betances. Get a lot of strikeouts, maybe vulture some wins, give you great numbers. But he might not be the de facto closer. I think the de facto closer will be Drew Storen. Drew Storen had 29 saves back in 2015 until the Nationals got ridiculous and started to bring in John Papelbon, who I can't stand. Nobody likes Jonathan Papelbon. So I think Brian Price might use Iglesias as this effector, right? And I think he uses Drew Storen as his closer because Storen has showed that he can do the job if he's given the job. Now, Tony Cingrani's decent. Mike Lorenzen's decent. This bullpen is decent. It's respectable. I mean, it's not great, but it's respectable. But it's going to have to be because the starting rotation is disgusting. I mean, I like Anthony DeSclafani, but to me, he's Chris Tillman in the NL. He's a good pitcher, but he's not great. He'll keep you in games. He might win 10, 11 games. But, I mean, do you want DeSclafani or Clayton Kershaw? And DeSclafani is going to have to go against the number 1 starters for other teams. That's going to be a nightmare for him. He's not that good. In an ideal world, DeSclafani is my 4th starter. Maybe my 3rd, but he's not my number 1 starter. But they don't have anybody else. Now, I like Brandon Finnegan. I'm one of the few people out there who likes him. I know Todd Zola from Masters Ball likes him. I always feel good about that because I respect Todd's opinion. Brandon Finnegan went to Texas A&M, and then he was drafted by the Royals, who jerked him around. He was a closer, he was a reliever, he was a starter, closer, reliever, starter, closer, reliever, starter. He didn't know if he was coming or going. Finally, he gets traded to the Reds, who said, look, you're going to be a starter. You're going to be a starter. And he showed signs of life. Now, he had 84 walks last year in 172 innings. That's disgusting. That's really bad. He's got to cut down the walks. He's got to cut down on the home runs, or he will have no chance. After that, there's a mess. I want no part of Scott Feldman. I want no part of Bronson Arroyo. I want no part of Robert Stevenson. I like Cody Reed a little bit. I like Amir Garrett a little bit, but I don't want to part any of these guys. They pitch in a bad park because it's a home run park. They have a very good manager because Brian Price is a pitching coach by trade. But the offense around them isn't good. The bullpen is decent, but I don't even know if these guys can throw 6 innings. I think I'd rather be the Braves with R.A. Dickey and Bartolo Colon than Scott Feldman and Bronson Arroyo. Because let me tell you something. Feldman and Arroyo are scary. And here's why. They will throw 1 or 2 good starts. You're going to see those starts. You're going to sort by ERA or by WHIP or whatever you do when you go onto your league's website. And then when you get there, you know what you're going to say to yourself? This guy doesn't look too bad. Wait a second. Bronson Arroyo? I might be able to roster him. And that, my friends, is the last good thing you ever did on your fantasy team. Because you will get suckered in thinking that Feldman and Arroyo are good, and they're not. And here's what's going to happen then. They're going to kill your numbers. They're going to get lit up like Christmas trees. I mean, Bronson Arroyo could lit up eight runs in 2 innings, no problem. No problem. And then you're going to regret that you did that. And then your ERA is going to take a tumble, and you're never going to be able to catch up. So let me do you the favor. Don't pick Feldman or Arroyo off your waiver wire. Now, here's the problem with Stevenson, Reed, and Garrett. They're young. So let's talk about football for a second. Let's talk about quarterbacks. Young quarterbacks play good games, then they play bad games, and then they play so-so games. The good games are good, but the bad games will kill you in fantasy. Same thing with Stevenson, Reed, Adelman, and Garrett. They may give you one good start, but they might follow that up with 3 bad ones. Can you win a fantasy league that way? I don't think you can. You're playing with dynamite, and dynamite blows up, and I don't want it to blow up in your face, and that's what it could do. So please, I'll be okay with DeScalfani. I can live with Finnegan. The rest, avoid. Iglesias, you have my blessing. Storin, you have my blessing. That's it. Iglesias, Storin, DeScalfani, Finnegan. Outside of those 4 guys, I don't want to touch it. Okay? I don't want to touch it. But right now it's time to put away the insurance cards, put away the copay. The office is closed, my friends. I want to encourage you, please. I want you to go to scoutfantasy.com. Sean Childs, Adam Ronas, and myself are doing 90% of the baseball material. So I was just thinking about this today. We're talking about this in the radio show. When I worked for Roto Experts, I used to write 1 article a week. 1. Now, I'm doing podcasts daily. I'm writing articles daily. We're on the radio Sirius XM daily. We're on the message boards. We're tweeting it out. You're getting me, Adam, and Sean daily. That's unheard of. It's unheard of. And what's even more unheard of is that we charge you for 1 month and we give you 2 more months for free. So please, I beg you, we're giving you the best quality you can find. 3 guys who love the game, who want to see you succeed in the game, and that's important to me. Your success is important to me. If I can't win my own league, I want you to win your league. And more importantly, I want you to win your league even if I don't win my league. Your success is what I'm looking for here at Scout Fantasy. So please, let's be part of what we do, and let's do it together. All right, back tomorrow with the Cleveland Indians. Talking Indians baseball. But have a great day, be well, take care.
Thanks for listening to the Scout Fantasy Show. There's never been a better time to join the Scout Army. Visit scoutfantasy.com. Use the promo ROTO for 2 months free. And don't forget, fantasy players, please thumbs up the podcast on the iHeart app. See you next time. Go Scouts!